Donald Trump made a very salient point. I know you don't hear me say that often, but it's true. He made a very salient point a couple of weeks ago, or I think it was in the immediate aftermath of Super Tuesday, when he was talking about President Biden, and he was saying, come beat me. But I find it very, very difficult to believe that everybody on the Democratic side is innocent. I mean, when you look at the inordinate amount of charges that are coming Trump's way, I mean, when is enough's enough?
He's so right. When is enough enough? Could it be that some people on the crazy side of the political aisle have hit their limit with all this Democratic BS? Can you imagine if Stephen A. Smith actually leads the charge and enables many black people to open their eyes? Stephen A. calls himself an independent, but it's obvious that he's leaning into Donald Trump. He's not there yet, but November is a long way to go. And it seems as though he's breaking his shackles. He's recognizing the absurdity of the lawfare that the Democrats are waging against Donald Trump.
A recent Wall Street Journal opinion piece entitled, "The High Price of Democrats' Anti-Trump Lawfare," written by Daniel Henninger, spoke of how most Americans believe the rule of law is better than the law of the jungle, but how that could change. According to Henninger, the newest buzzword in politics is lawfare, or using the legal system as a weapon against a political opponent.
Now, I know many of you know that, but it's really important that people begin to recognize that they're using the legal system as a weapon.
Henninger questions how many lawsuits, court motions, and judgments against Donald Trump the Democratic Party can actually chow down on. He also ponders about the high price the American system may pay for all of this in excess. Let me tell you something. It was a great opinion piece. I completely agree with Daniel Henninger of the Wall Street Journal.
How could you not agree with that opinion piece? Even if you didn't read it, you recognize that this lawfare crap is just insane right now. As a career sports journalist, Stephen A. Smith can see a game and he can see how it's being played out, and he can see and spot the inequities all over the field. He knows, like we do, that the Dems are throwing everything at Donald Trump. And he's also seeing that it's not working. The Dems seem to be blitzing on every single play. They've decided to run a full court press the entire game. And like anybody watching from the stands, we can see it's not working. And just like the rest of us, a seasoned sports journalist like Stephen A. Smith, he can see it too.
I'm going to simply say this. Trump is kicking the Democrats, you know what? 91 charges, 4 indictments, 91 counts against him. He's been impeached twice, and he still ran away with the GOP nomination. It was a cakewalk.
Anyone who watches sports, they love seeing the underdog come from behind and win. Stephen A. Smith is no dummy. He understands what he's seeing. He sees a political party afraid of their opponent. He sees a team acting in complete desperation. He sees a team out there putting bounties on their opponent. And all the while, they keep telling their fans, it's coming, it's gonna happen, we're gonna get him.
Still waiting for him to go to jail. We're still waiting for him because supposedly he's done so much. Russian collusion, remember all of that? We're still waiting for the jury. We're still waiting for the guilty verdict. We're still waiting for him to be incarcerated. We're still waiting for him to be seen in zebra stripes. You can't touch him.
Not seeing anything that the rest of us aren't seeing, but it's just really compelling to see somebody like Stephen A. Smith finally begin to see what's going on. That they can see that they keep getting promised that they're going to take this guy down. They're going to get rid of Donald Trump. But we've heard that for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, the underdog is starting to swing back in a big way. It's like watching a football team and seeing their press conferences where they keep saying if they just get another running back, they're going to win. They keep saying maybe if we get another quarterback, get us a good quarterback, we're gonna win. Oh, wait a minute, maybe we need a linebacker, then we're gonna win. But obviously at this point, continuing to use a sports analogy, the fans are watching and nothing's happening. They're getting impatient, and people like Stephen A. Smith, who have been watching all along, starting to wonder.
And now he's throwing this salvo. He said, yo, why don't you come beat me? Stop engaging in lawfare and using the legal system to push your political agenda. Come beat me. That's what he did. Listen, I do sports most of the time. That's the kind of language we want to hear, ain't it? Can you beat him or not? You gonna beat him?
Exactly. Those of us who have been in the sports world understand we can see two teams. We see one team that's trying to do everything they possibly can to keep the other team from playing. They don't want to compete with you. They want to take you out. They want to eliminate you. From a fan's perspective, from a sports journalist perspective, we see that's not right. Stephen A. Smith, who's been in sports for, 20, 30 years, is understanding because he's seen so many games, football, basketball, baseball, and says, this isn't right. This is crazy what we're seeing. And he's letting people know they've promised a whole lot. They threw a whole lot at the guy. And what we're seeing right now is somebody who's still standing and growing stronger. As sports fans, we're looking at this and we can see that the Biden camp is trying to rig the game. It's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters. We already know who's going to win when you watch the Harlem Globetrotters. But that's entertainment. We're dealing with real life. We want to see warriors. We want to see people go man on man and who's going to be left standing. Let the better man win. The election should be a winner-take-all bout. Shouldn't be all this stuff on the outside, on the fringes, trying to influence the game. But that's where we are right now. What we have is a lawless attempt by one side to rig a game, and it's spilling out into society. And Stephen A. Smith recognizes this as well.
Are you going to stop him or not? This article is a very profound one. The higher price of Democrats' anti-Trump lawfare. Because when the legal system is utilized this way and people see you getting away with trying to cause all of this ruckus towards him as opposed to simply beating him at the polls.
Because they can't. I think they've already realized they cannot win fairly. And now other people like Stephen A. Smith are starting to recognize that you can't win fairly.
That gives them additional fodder to question the legal system. And once they do that, it gives them a significant license to be lawless and to engage in lawlessness, which will explain some of the mayhem and the nonsense we've been seeing in the streets of America that would have never been tolerated.
Nope, would never have been tolerated before. And right now what we're seeing in the streets of America are prosecutors looking the other way, allowing people to just wreak havoc. That's never been something in America in my lifetime, and probably not yours, where people have been allowed to be completely lawless. And they're taking their cues from the higher echelon of government. Hey, if you guys aren't going to obey the law, what the hell? We aren't either. And then the prosecutors that they installed are just letting it happen. I love that Stephen A. Smith, a black man, put strong emphasis on what's happening in society. We all can see what's going on in the streets of America. It just drives me crazy that some people are willing to look the other way, pretend that it's not happening. And we all can see what's going on at the border. For some people to pretend as though it's no big deal and nothing is happening is absolutely absurd. You've got people in major cities across the country who are now revolting and yelling, absolutely screaming at their local politicians going, what the hell are you doing to my city?
Right? They're illegal. Right now, Brandon Johnson and the Democrats are criminals. You're locking up guys from smuggling drugs and trafficking people across the thing. The drag government's doing it. Yeah. Right now. Right. We're going to sue the bosses. We're going to sue the Democrats as civilians because they're civilians, the agents representing the people they voted for. The agents. I'm a sports agent. If I don't have represent my clients, they fire me. Yeah. It's time to fire. Don't let the Democrats have that stupid convention here next year. That's it. Enough's enough. All I see, right, is the citizens of Chicago marching to the gas chamber. Ever since these scumbags came across the border.
It's never been like this. In the past, neither side would have allowed anything like this to happen. And unfortunately for the Democrats, everyone knows that. Everyone knows that this would never have been allowed to happen. And it's only happening because of your disdain for Donald Trump and you want to do anything you possibly can to rig the election. And what's scary is that there are so many people who are okay with this if their team wins. We have reached a point of insanity here in America. And that's why Biden is losing so much support in the Black and Latino communities. I see it, my family sees it, Stephen A. Smith sees it. And every single day, people in the Black and Latino communities, they see it all the time. They see it everywhere. They see people drugged out on the street. They see crime rampant. They see the same guys coming right back out and doing it again. They're robbing stores. Stores are closing down in their neighborhoods. That's not the America that any of us want to live in. And we shouldn't be mortgaging our safety just so that the Democrats can beat Donald Trump. Beat him fairly if you're going to beat him.
The nonsense that we're seeing in the streets today easily could be attributed to a level of lawlessness that people don't care about committing because they're seeing our politicians manipulate the system in such a way that they don't like it.
You know, when you were growing up and your mom or dad would do something and it was something they told you not to do, did you ever get the phrase, do what I tell you, don't do what I do? That's what we're seeing right now in our politicians, in our government. Do what we say, not what we do. It just keeps happening over and over and over, and people are fed up with it.
Because it reminds them of things they've always felt about our government to begin with. Which is, by the way, what makes Trump sound like he had a lot of sense when he was comparing himself to the plight of black folks, even though we know better. Anybody black knows that ain't a problem Trump had. But he talked about being a victim. He talked about the system being rigged against him. He talked about the powers that be wielding and influencing a level of power just to make him uncomfortable for their own bidding, as opposed to it being legitimate.
And that's what people recognize. If it's happened to you, if you've been through it, you can recognize it. You see, I don't think the Democrats thought this out for so long. So many in the Black and Latin communities thought they were being, quote, oppressed. In fact, the entire message that the Democrats were saying was that you are an oppressed people. So we recognized it. Most of us overcame it, or some of us overcame it, I can say, but many didn't. And they understood what it meant to be oppressed. So right now, they're recognizing it. They don't have to compare themselves in terms of their lives with Donald Trump. They can compare the situations and see, hey man, this ain't right. I'm just trying to railroad this guy. And I don't think the Black and Latin communities want this at all. Nobody wants to participate in a rigged game. Nobody wants to watch a rigged game. Nobody wants to root for a team in a rigged game. I can watch the Miami Dolphins lose and I can understand it because they may not have performed as well. I can watch the Red Sox possibly lose to the New York Yankees. Oh my God. But I can understand it. Maybe that day the Yankees outperformed them. I can watch Notre Dame football year after year not make it into the playoffs. And I can understand maybe they're not getting the players. But none of us wants to see our teams in a rigged game.
It's them. It's not me. And at least 74 million people, based on the numbers stemming from the 2020 election, are going to side with him. What about the 81 plus million that once sided with Biden?
I won't say it, but you know, 81 million, huh? Okay.
Sure they're going to show up to help him beat Trump with the way things are in the streets of America right now? I don't know.
That's a man with some questions. That's a man who's beginning to do some introspection. That's a man who's looking at what's happening out in front of him, what's happening in the streets, and going, I don't think this is the way to go. I bet you secretly he wonders if there's going to be that much of a groundswell for one particular opponent. Can he match 81 million votes? I think there's a lot of people going, give it some side eye here. Not really sure this is the case anymore. People are waking up, and people like Stephen A. Smith are asking the right questions and talking to the right people, and he's not afraid to get up on his platform, which incidentally isn't ESPN, and telling people, I got some questions. Will Stephen A. Smith actually vote for Donald Trump? He says he's not, but he's not there yet. But it's obvious listening to him and many other black celebrities and sports journals that there's a lot of questions that they want answered. He has integrity. He sees the bullshit schemes that the Dems are trying to run against Donald Trump. And unlike the other ESPN wackos out there that just fall in line, Stephen A. Smith isn't afraid to ask the pertinent questions. And he's not afraid to let people know he has some doubts about Joe Biden, and he's done quite a few shows with other black celebrities and sports journals where he continues to ask them the questions as well. And that's got to be driving the Dems absolutely batshit crazy, because this guy is breaking the shackles and he's out there openly talking about it. Then recently, after the media kind of ran with a hoax about this whole bloodbath thing, he went even further. Check this out. This was a tweet that went out by a guy named Ian Miles Chong, and he talked about the Democrats in the media being caught running a hoax. And he ran through a whole bunch of these newspapers here that said bloodbath, 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 where they took Trump's words completely out of context and ran with it. And Elon Musk, legacy media lies. You see, in the past, when they controlled Twitter, they controlled the messaging. They were running their exact same game plan. They're doing nothing more but running the exact same game plan. Unfortunately for them, they can no longer ban and bounce people who challenge them on Twitter. And so at this point, people are seeing the hoax, and then they're seeing the truth, and it's driving them crazy. And one person who saw the truth was, as you might expect, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith saw Elon Musk tweet, checked it out for himself. That's all we can ask people to do, is use your own brain. Take a look. And here's what he tweeted. Based purely on this video, if it is accurate, then that would be true. It seems Donald Trump's words were taken out of context. Reading the headlines I've read, fair is fair. Are you seeing the theme with Stephen A. Smith? He's starting to see that things are rigged. He wants it to be a fair fight. He wants it to be man against man. He wants you to beat the competition, not try to take the competition out, not try to kneecap the competition before they even get in the ring with you. That's weak sauce. And a seasoned sports journal like Stephen A. Smith and others are beginning to see, hey man, you don't even want to fight. That means you don't think you can win. Understand that. If you don't want to fight your opponent, that means you don't think you can win. Fair is fair. This is rigged. Stephen A. Smith can see it. I'm telling you, he's opening his eyes, and he's opening a lot of other people's eyes. Even if Stephen A. Smith doesn't vote for Donald Trump, he's causing so many people to become more and more aware of what is going on in this political season. He's letting his audience know, hey man, I'm not there yet, but you should see what's happening. And he has quite a large audience. At a minimum, he's helping to level the playing field. I applaud him for that. And that awareness is absolutely growing. If you can see the number here, over 2.2 million people have seen that tweet. He's bringing awareness to the fact that this isn't fair. He's bringing awareness to the media that the media is actually cheating. They're lying to you. Can you even imagine what a member of the media like Stephen A. Smith must be going through every single day when he's calling out other people in the media, including some of his cohorts at ESPN. This is going to be very interesting over the next couple of months to see where Stephen A. Smith and other sports journals land. I think you're seeing basically a divide, just like everything else in this country, where some are going left, some are going right, some are choosing to look at what's really going on, and some are just going blindly and doing what they're supposed to do. You gotta wonder why. Wonder why people blindly would just go ahead and push the Biden bullshit. Do they have something on them? I don't know. I couldn't say that. But let me know what you think about Stephen A. Smith seemingly leaning in to the fact that Donald Trump should have a fair fight, and that he may even vote for him. Let me know what you think about Stephen A. Smith possibly voting for Donald Trump and his raising of awareness in the Black, sports journal, and Latino communities. Talk to you soon.